And hello again. So, another video of this series where I answer questions. The question of today's video comes from a sister, and it relates to how do you deal with people that you explain to them, you know, alternative interpretations of the Quran or alternative understandings of Hadith, or, you know, Hadith criticism that we have spoke before in a different video, in 3 different videos. If you haven't watched them, please. So how do you deal with online and offline arguments? That's a good question. I'll tell you that I am involved in social media for now 20 years, approximately 20 years. And I used to be, I am passionate, I'm very passionate as a person. I'm Greek after all. I used to invest a lot of energy and time in disputes, online and offline. And for better or for worse, my understanding of the Quran, my understanding of Islam is not compatible with the mainstream Islam as practiced today. The difference is that I'm very proud of my understanding. I'm very confident of my knowledge and my understanding, which gives me a certain level of peace. So I have 2 ways to deal. When it comes to offline arguments, I assess the person. Because the majority of these people that they start arguing and fighting back and questioning, they do that out of ignorance. They don't know. Religion is very important to all of us. It is an intrinsic part of our identity, especially Islam. Because Islam is not just the spiritual aspect of religion, it's not the praying aspect, okay? You live according to these rules. You dress, you walk, you talk, you greet people based on Islam. So if someone grew up and his mama and his baba and his uncle and his imam has told him that the sun is green, when you come and you tell him that no, the sun is not green, the sun does not have color, actually, is fire, he will object it. Or she will object it. I need to clarify that. I apologize. I'm Greek. In my language, when we refer to human beings, we use the male pronoun. I shouldn't, I know. But you can take the Greek out of Greece, but you cannot take Greece out of the Greek. So, yeah. So people will protest, will fight back. And will fight with all their beings for 2 reasons. 1, this is what they know. This is their reality. This is their lived reality. And the second thing is, if they admit that this is wrong, there is a chain of explosions that will destroy the entire structure of the religious identity. So the first part is have compassion, show compassion. When someone fights you, someone attacks you, have the maturity, and this is offline, always offline, in personal interactions, have the maturity to step 1 step behind and be like, okay, what is going on in this person's head? What struggle makes that person so aggressive or so, you know, there is something there. Then question whether your understanding, your reality will benefit or harm them. And what do I mean by that? If I go now to, okay, I'm hijabi, but I'm hijabi, and I have said that many, many times, because I love myself in the hijab. I like it. I like the colors and the designs and the flashy thing, okay? I don't believe that we need to wear a hijab. That's my belief, and it's between me and Allah. And when people come and tell me, you should wear the hijab, which they don't now. Now they don't, because I do. But let's say if I tell someone what I just mentioned, they were like, oh, blah, 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 but you have to. No, you don't have to. I don't believe you have to. I do it today. After 3 months, after 3 years, I might remove my hijab. Why? Because I don't think that God will judge me based on what I do with my hair. But if I go to a village or let's say, if I say that to Muslim women here in the UK, I'm absolutely comfortable doing so because there will be no repercussions on them. But I will never, never in the history of ever go to a remote village of Afghanistan and tell young girls that God has not requested women to cover their hair. And why I will not do that? Because if I do that, these girls will be, I will put these girls in a precarious position because their societal context does not permit them not to cover their hair. And if my ideas go into their head, they will either struggle or they will do something that will put their life in danger. And this is wrong. So question whether arguing and giving evidence with this person that argues in front of you will benefit them or will harm them. Religion should make life easy, not hard. And maslaha, the benefit of the humans, is the priority. Now, if you see that, okay, yeah, the person is open-minded and the person should know. The only occasion where I, face-to-face, I argue until the end, and usually I establish domination at the end, is when the subject of argument is a means of oppression. So if someone will come and argue in front of me that, and this is a real, the scenario I'm telling you is a real life scenario, that girls should not be educated, so once a girl finishes her primary school, she will stay home and marry, then I will argue. I will argue a lot. Why? Because another human being, the daughter of the man or the daughter of the woman that mentions that with me, will be deprived of education based on gender and based on false interpretations of my religion, of our religion. Then I will argue. So if there is a reason, if your argument will benefit someone, directly or indirectly, do it. But if it will harm someone, or if it is irrelevant, so if we discuss about, very common example, whether God has gender or doesn't have gender. I don't believe that God has gender. But because of the linguistic, specificities of the Arabic language and the fact that in the Quran God is referred as He, people tear their clothes that God is He. Do I care to go down that path and argue? I don't. You want to believe that God has a gender? Alhamdulillah, may God bless your mentality and your capacity to understand. Do you bother someone with that? No. If you use this argument to oppress women, I will have an issue. But for as long as you do it for philosophical purposes, yalla habibi, do it. Be happy. Another element that you need to think when you argue online or offline is the mental capacity. Some people don't have the capacity to go beyond literal understandings of the Quran because understanding abstract notions requires certain capacity, cognitive capacity, that some people don't have. It's like if I'm trying to explain quantum physics to a 3-year-old and then fighting with a 3-year-old. There is no point. A 3-year-old does not have the mental capacity to understand quantum physics. If I argue with them, I'm the wrong one here. I might be right about quantum physics. Objectively, I might be right. I will be right. But to a 3-year-old, Ida. And then accuse the 3-year-old. So this is offline. Online, what I do is I do argue in a polite manner because fighting, although I'm tempted to fight, often I don't. But when I argue, I don't argue with the person itself. For me, this person is a lost case because I cannot assess this person. I don't have the background knowledge to know, do they have the mental capacity? Do they have the cognitive capacity? Will they be benefited? Because when people argue with me online, majority of the times are accounts that I don't even see the face of the person. I don't know if it's a man, a woman, a young child, an elderly person. I don't know. But I argue for the sake of the people around. So if let's say someone leaves a comment that is derogatory comment under this video, for example, I will respond, not for this person. This person is none of my concern. It's, beyond my help. But someone else will see this conversation. And there are people out there that they're very sensitive and very easily influenced by what other people say. So if I don't offer my counter argument, the third person that is observing silently this interaction will be influenced by the wrong assumptions of the person that I have the discussion with or the argument with. So it is important to give your arguments. What I would say for your happiness, for your sake, is do not let strangers affect you. Do not let their limited understanding and capacity and knowledge affect you. And definitely don't take things personally. When someone accuses you or someone attacks you, it doesn't do it because of you and doesn't know anything about you. I mentioned in one of the previous videos that usually when I'm engaged in online arguments about important matters of Islam, primarily men and young men, this is the question, from Muslim majority countries, they can't counter-argue my arguments. They can't come back on my arguments. So what they do, they say, oh, you are old and ugly and you hate Islam and you hate men. I don't hate men. Those that they know me, they know that. But this is, if is there any point start fighting with a 15-year-old boy in Morocco when he accuses me of being old and hate men and being ugly and most probably you are unmarried and you will be with cats? Do you? I don't bother myself. I will respond to specific comments that they touch the subject of the discussion in aim to give the different perspectives so other users of the internet will be exposed. But until then, that's the point that I go. So just protect your mental health. It's very important. And choose your battles. I will say choose your battles because the internet and the social media is a battlefield on a daily basis. Choose your battles. And importantly, educate yourself because you don't want to be the other side. You don't want to be the one that insists on an opinion that someone someday told you and you don't know. Have sources. Make sure that you know what you're talking about, which requires education. Cut down from social media and buy books and read. Cut down from watching football and read. Cut down from soap operas and read. This learning about your religion is much more important. I know it's tiring, but it's important. That's all for now. If you have other questions, if you have things that you would like my advice on, strictly related to Islam or just to life of Muslims, I'm more than happy to help you. And if you decide to comment under any of my videos, be polite. That's all for now. I shall see you in one of the rest videos.